The Ice Sculptor of Hope, Canada. The Arctic winter in the town of Inuvik was a long, silent canvas of white where the sun barely kissed the horizon. For Akpak Aglukak, an Inuit artist whose ancestors measured time by the thickness of the sea ice, this world of snow and cold was home. But the ice was changing. It spoke in shivers and cracks that came too early and left too soon, a language of distress that the elders understood perfectly. Akpak felt this change not just as a survival threat, but as an existential sorrow. He decided he would give that sorrow a voice, translating the cold facts of climate change into a warm, immediate message. Trading his usual tools for electric chainsaws, ice chisels, and carefully placed colored lights, he began his monumental winter work. He chose a spot overlooking the frozen harbor and worked for weeks, his breath misting into the frigid air. Slowly, a towering structure emerged, a massive polar bear, majestic and somber, standing upright on its hind legs. In its immense sculpted paws, it held a perfectly smooth sphere of ice, the Earth. When the sun dipped and the darkness settled, Akpak flipped a switch. Inside the thick crystalline walls of the sculpture, colored lights, deep blues, hopeful greens, and warning reds began to glow. The polar bear, the sentinel of the north, seemed to breathe, casting an ethereal, pulsating light across the snowscape. The sculpture became an instant, unofficial monument. People traveled from remote Arctic towns to see it. The giant bear holding its tiny, fragile world. It was both a breathtaking work of art and a stark, beautiful plea. It didn't preach, it simply was. A symbol across the Arctic that captured the precarious balance of their existence. But Akpak knew the most important part of his art was its transience. The sun was returning, and the life of the ice bear was measured in days. When the spring thaw finally began to assert itself, the sculpture started to weep. It was a slow, agonizing process. The crystalline surface softened, the sharp edges rounded, and the colossal polar bear began to shed its mass. Akpak was there with dozens of small, clean glass bottles. He directed the pure, cold meltwater, the essence of the vanishing Arctic, into these containers. He called this collection the Tears of Tomorrow. It was water that should have stayed frozen for months, now surrendered prematurely. His final act was to visit the local schools, handing one bottle to each child. The children, holding the ice-cold glass, looked up at the famous artist who no longer worked with a chisel, but with quiet, profound purpose. "The polar bear is gone," he told them, his voice gentle but firm. "But the water remains. This water is more than just melted ice. It is the truth. It is what we lose when we stop paying attention." He knelt down, meeting their innocent, wide eyes, and shared the core of his philosophy, a philosophy born from survival and deep love for his home. "If we care enough to cry," he said, clutching his own empty bottle, "we still care enough to change." The water became a sacrament, a promise whispered between the generations, a reminder that grief and action are two sides of the same necessary coin.